So under President Ford, they produced this document called National Security Study Memorandum 200. Well, let me just summarize what that said. What Henry Kissinger and others said was that the threat of population growth in 14 countries, plus the Palestinians, was to be considered a threat to the national security interests of the United States. So even though America was guilty of committing acts of genocide before 1974, it was only in 1974 that genocide became the official policy. Are you listening to me? If you think I'm lying, go look up NSSM 200 on the internet. There's many sites on the internet that publish the whole report, about 200 pages. Go read it for yourself. And they identified South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, the Palestinians, Brazil, and several other places, as enemies. Now keep in mind what this means. This is the first time in the history of America that populations of people, civilian populations, have been identified as the enemy. Not a political system like communism or socialism or Nazism or something like that. No, the very people themselves. And the thing that they are doing that is a threat to the security interests of the United States, according to Mr. Kissinger, is that they're having babies. So just to cite one example from that report, Mr. Kissinger said Nigeria, early in the 21st century, could emerge as a bona fide superpower in her own right. And the Nigerians, and not ourselves, might decide how best to utilize the natural resources of Africa. And they might decide that the natural resources of Africa should be used for African development and not the development of America and Europe. So therefore, the population of Nigeria became one of the enemies. Another example. Mr. Kissinger wrote that Brazil, which is the largest African country outside of Africa, with 70 million Africans, he wrote that sometime, I think in the year 2035, by the year 2035, it would be Brazil and not the United States that would be the superpower in the Western Hemisphere. And the balance of power would shift from the Northern Hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere. And so therefore, Mr. Kissinger, Mr. Bush, Mr. Scowcroft, and all of them said in unison that it must be in the national interest of the United States to reduce these populations by any means necessary. Carter, the peanut farming nuclear physicist, a nuclear physicist masquerading as a peanut farmer. So under his administration, they published a report called Global 2000, written by John D. Rockefeller. And they set a goal. In other words, the first study was showing what the policy should be. Global 2000 was the implementation phase. And they called for the reduction of the world's population down to 2 billion by the year 2000. So I'm just giving you the background so that you can understand how age fits in. How do you kill 4 billion people, in other words? So you never thought about that, probably, did you? You never thought about that, did you? You never thought about how you could wipe out an entire continent, have you? You haven't thought about that. See, you're so wrapped up in yourself. You think everybody sees the world the way you see it. They don't. You think that what I'm saying and reporting to you is impossible because you don't think like that. Well, how could somebody do that? How could they think of something like that? Well, what made you the standard of what people can think about? These people think about what's in their interest. They ain't worrying about what you think about it. See, black people, sometimes you're so arrogant. Yes, you are. You're so arrogant. See, because you're so black that you don't even think about what it must be like to be white. And I don't mean no disrespect, but white people are at a disadvantage, a very distinct disadvantage. Suppose you were white on a black planet. That's why you have things like apartheid and Zionism and segregation. This is an effort of the white race to keep themselves separate and apart from black humanity. You've heard the old American expression, one drop of black blood makes you what? Black. So if you're carrying one drop of black blood, you are classified as black. You cannot be a member of the white family. We didn't set it up like that because we don't care what you look like. I got people in my family look like they're white. Red hair, blue eyes, everything. But they got one drop somewhere. I'm just telling you the facts now.